Good morning, everyone. I extend a warm welcome to all of you. And this is basically the historic occasion that we are celebrating 75th year of independence, and AIIMS is celebrating its 67th Foundation Day. And we are beginning the proceedings of celebrations of Institute Day with the second AIIMS Diamond Jubilee Oration. For that, I request our Honorable Director to please accompany the guest, Dr. P.K. Dave, on the dais. I also request our Honorable Dean to come on the dais as well, please. I request academic section staff Geeta to formally welcome Dr. P.K. Dave, who is former director of AIIMS and will be chairing this session, please. So I request Kiran to welcome our honorable director, Dr. M. Srinivas. And I request Geeta again to welcome our Dean, Professor Subrat Sinha. To begin the proceedings of second AIIMS Diamond Jubilee Oration, I request Dr. Rajiv Kumar, Associate Dean, to please come on the dais.
Good morning. The prestigious AIIMS Diamond Jubilee Oration was instituted in 2016 when we completed 60 years of the existence of this institution. It is to be awarded to an eminent person from any field for his or her contributions to science and society. Today, we will have the second AIIMS Diamond Jubilee Oration. The first oration was delivered by the late Dr. M.K. Bhan. This year, the selection committee has awarded the oration to Dr. K.M. Venkat Narayan, the Executive Director of Emory Global Diabetes Research Center at Atlanta in Georgia. Dr. Narayan is also the Ruth and O.C. Hubert Professor of Global Health and Epidemiology at the Rollins School of Public Health and a Professor of Medicine and Endocrinology at the Emory University School of Medicine. It's my pleasure to inform that Dr. Narayan is with us today for the oration. Dr. Narayan is a leading expert on diabetes, and in 2017, he was inducted into the National Academy of Medicine, which is one of the highest honors in the field of health and medicine. He serves on the committee of the Health and Medicine Division of the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine. He is noted for his substantial multidisciplinary work in diabetes and non-communicable diseases. He has been involved in several major national and international multi-center epidemiological studies, randomized trials, public health surveillance, translational research, and health policy studies. He has over 550 publications, including several high-impact studies, 185,000 citations, and his work exemplifies global leadership and influence in diabetes and non-communicable diseases in science and public health. Dr. Narayan was selected by Emory University in 2017 to receive the Marion V. Creekmore Award for Internationalization for building a network of collaborations with global partners. He's cultivated multi-institutional collaborations with partners across the world. He was Chief of Diabetes Epidemiology and Statistics Branch at the US CDC and led a number of large US national studies, and his latest accomplishment is a partnership between Emory, the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, the Public Health Foundation of India, and AIIMS to explore ways to mitigate chronic health problems in low-resource communities. I see a large number of school children sitting in the balcony upstairs. So in case they don't understand what I'm saying, I would just like to simplify what I've just said. Today, you will hear from a person who has a lot of experience in diabetes and diseases which are non-communicable, which means they do not go transmitted from one person to another. It is not like COVID, that one person has COVID, he can give it to another person. That is a communicable disease. Non-communicable diseases are those which you don't communicate from one person to another, like diabetes, blood pressure. But then these are diseases which have a lot of impact on all our lives. So Dr. Narayan, who will speak next, will talk about these conditions and these diseases and the work that is being done in India and abroad to decrease these diseases. The other important disease, non-communicable, that you may know of is heart disease and heart attacks. Dr. Narayan was offered the opportunity to deliver this oration virtually because we had given him very little time to accept and come. He initially accepted to deliver it virtually, but then decided that he will make a special 2-day visit to India simply to deliver this oration physically. We are grateful to him both for accepting the award and for recognizing the prestige that this award carries by coming over just for a 24-hour visit to India to deliver this oration physically. Dr. Narayan will be speaking on solving diabetes, a journey of Indo-US collaborative research. It's my pleasure to invite Dr. Narayan to deliver the oration.
Thank you, Dr. Rajiv Kumar, Dr. Dave, Dr. Srinivas, Dr. Sinha. It is my utmost pleasure to be delivering this oration and just to realize that I have to follow the footsteps of the great Dr. Ban itself is extremely humbling to me. I am thrilled, honored, proud to be delivering this oration. And I do believe that the significance of today's oration that I will be giving is really a testament and a recognition of the value of international collaborations in science and in education. In particular, the growing collaborations between India and the United States. And the work we have been doing over the past 14 or 15 years is really an epitome of the value of such global collaborations. My colleagues at Emory University and myself are extremely privileged, and we feel a sense of honor to have established wonderful long-term collaborations with some of the leading institutions in India, such as the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, the Public Health Foundation of India, the Center for Chronic Disease, Institute of Genomic and Integrative Biology, Ashoka University, the Madras Diabetes Research Foundation, and St. John's Medical College in Bangalore, and more recently, the Asian Institute of Gastroenterology. And we've also had the pleasure of working with some wonderful colleagues, several of whom are in this room here, Dr. Nikhil Tandon, Dr. Prabhakar, my close friends. I'm sorry Dr. Mohan in Chennai could not be here. He was one of my earliest collaborators since I moved to Emory University. This has been a remarkable journey, and it has taught us the value of global collaboration to take on big problems of science and of research, both to address global problems and also to address local problems. Whatever we learn here is applicable in the United States and vice versa. We now live very much in a world that is transdisciplinary and transculture and transgeography. And I think that is what I would like to resonate in my 25-minute talk. We've been fortunate that our research has been very interdisciplinary and really has cut across the entire spectrum of research, from etiology and pathophysiology, from population sciences, epidemiology, leading to precision medicine and precision public health, the role of implementation research and quality of care improvement research, leading to health policy research and to analysis, all using diabetes and cardiovascular disease as the topic of our work. But whatever we have done in this area applies to most other diseases. And increasingly, we become disease agnostic in the way in which we think of science and in the interdisciplinary nature of science as we go forward. My topic today is diabetes, and the disease diabetes is an ancient one. It has been described by the Romans, the Arabs, the Greeks, and the Indians in ancient times. And because I'm here in India today, I wanted to share with you a remarkable quote from a 6th century Ayurvedic textbook, Charaka Samhita. There are two forms of diabetes. They called it Madhumeha, honey urine, one associated with emaciation, dehydration, polyuria, and lassitude, and the other with stout build, gluttony, obesity, and sleepiness. Almost 1400 years ago, a remarkable anticipation of our today's technologically derived classification of type 1 and type 2, just based on the astute clinical observations that happened over 1,400 years ago. The idea that people of Indian origin, or the people from the Indian subcontinent, were at heightened risk of diabetes was first recognized in studies of immigrant Indians who went to other countries. For example, in 1972, the prevalence of diabetes in urban India was 2.3, and in rural India was 1.5. But the migrant populations that had gone across various parts of the world, in all of them, the prevalence of diabetes was 9%, 10%, 12%. So this led to considerable research in many of those countries as to why Indians may be at higher risk of diabetes. But more recently, in the last 10 years, this was a piece of work undertaken by Anjali Gujral for her PhD, in collaboration with Dr. Mohan, using data from a cohort study that I will talk about a little later. She compared Indians who were 40 years and older living in Chennai, India, a population-based sample, with Indian Americans living in California and Chicago in the Masala study. And what she found was quite remarkable, that the Indians in India, urban India, had a higher prevalence than Indian Americans in the United States living in Chicago and California. Of course, there are multiple reasons, but the point remains that this differential is important. It is true for men, it is true for women, and what is also striking when you compare the prevalence of diabetes in Indians, both Indians living in urban India and Indians living in the United States, it is a lot higher than the US general average of 9%. And indeed, when you assemble all the prevalence data in India since 1971, what you are really seeing is a pattern here, that the prevalence of diabetes in urban India has gone up from 2.3%, anywhere up to 24%, maybe even higher. And in rural India, the prevalence has gone up from 1.5% in 1972. Now, in certain rural parts, certain states, up to 14 and 15%, for example, in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Globally, diabetes is a very important disease. In many ways, it's an extremely costly disease. There is no country in the world today where diabetes is not an important problem or where the rates of diabetes is increasing. And within the globe, the Indian subcontinent, call it South Asia, for example, is an epicenter. So when you look at the Indian subcontinent, it represents about 24 to 25% of the global burden of diabetes. And yet, when you look at the research that is done in the population of the Indian subcontinent, including the diaspora, it contributes to less than 1% of the global output of diabetes research. This is a gap that we need to fill together. And this is an area where my colleagues Nikhil Tandon, Dr. Mohan, Dr. Prabhakaran, myself, and others have been working with, very much swimming against the tide, swimming against upstream, to raise the resources and the motivation and the advocacy to get this done. So, and I will show you in the rest of my talk why it is so important to study various populations and why it is not always as simple to transport studies done in well-nourished European populations and apply those findings directly to populations such as in India or in Africa or in China or anywhere for that matter. Let me start with some of our findings in the area of etiology and pathophysiology. This is an important, simple epidemiological observation here in front of you. These data represent 32 million immigrants to the United States. And this was a PhD work done by Rina Ozer-Frank some years ago. What she basically did in the immigrant population in the United States, using representative data from surveys, she estimated the prevalence of diabetes by different body weight categories. Her first finding was quite striking, that the immigrants from the Indian subcontinent and immigrants from Africa to the United States, not native-born Africans, but immigrants from Africa, had the highest prevalence of diabetes among immigrants in the United States. But our second finding is even more important and striking. This line here represents the prevalence of diabetes among obese European immigrants to the United States. And if you follow that line carefully, what you will see is the prevalence of diabetes among normal weight Indians and normal weight Africans, immigrants in the United States, is as high or probably even higher than the prevalence of diabetes among obese European immigrants to the United States. So this would raise an important issue that yes, obesity is extremely important insofar as the epidemic of diabetes is concerned, but perhaps there are other factors we should be paying attention to. And that question, why are Indian people at high risk of diabetes, type 2 diabetes in particular, and cardiometabolic diseases, even at low body weight, has been a question that many have been exploring for about 40 to 50 years, ever since the observation of high diabetes risk among Indian immigrants across the world. The one culprit that you might look at might be central adiposity and visceral adiposity in particular. But I'm showing you here a study done by Anjali Gujral, published in the Annals of Internal Medicine, where she compared several US cohorts of whites, Chinese, African Americans, Hispanic, and South Asians. And I want you to see the block that I've marked out in a red square. Those are normal weight people. So even among normal weight people, about 13% of whites, but 42% of South Asians have some metabolic abnormality. And what we mean by metabolic abnormality in this analysis are people with high glucoses, high triglycerides, or low HDLs. And interestingly, in this study, we had access to data on visceral adiposity, well measured using CT scans. So even adjustment for visceral adiposity did not explain away the difference in ethnic difference in metabolic abnormalities, even in normal weight people. More recently, there is a systematic review which is under review at the moment, which I'm sharing with you in advance. In this one, with the distribution of body fat among South Asians was compared with white Europeans. This is a study from UK. And what the author has found is, on average, South Asians are about 2.5 times the risk of diabetes than the white Europeans, are about 1 kilogram per meter squared lower in BMI. But interestingly, when you look at the different fat compositions, the South Asians have higher subcutaneous fat in men, no difference in subcutaneous fat in women compared to white Europeans. And very importantly, and this might shock you, in this meta-analysis, which is pretty well done, there was no difference in visceral adiposity in South Asian men and women compared to the whites in Europe. What they found was the South Asians had higher deposition of liver fat, both in men and in women. This would then make us switch on to why are the Indians at low BMI at high risk for diabetes. And here, our group, along with collaborators in India, Dr. Nikhil Tandon, Dr. Mohan, and others, Dr. Anurag Kurpad, we have been looking very carefully at the pancreas, in particular, insulin secretion and beta cell function. We've had a number of papers in adults in India, Indian adults in the United States, young onset diabetes in Chennai, etc., all pointing to the possibility that Indians may innately be secreting less insulin than other populations. I mean, these are, again, cross-section studies. You can't make too much out of them, but they provide a signal. And this idea was also confirmed independently by my colleague Alka Kanaya, using several of the large cohort studies in the United States. Shown here on the y-axis is HOMA-B, which is an epidemiological approximation of insulin secretion. These are non-diabetic people, and the x-axis is the age at which the measurement was made. And what you're seeing there is the dark bold line, which is the insulin secretion of South Asians in the United States at different ages. Next to that is the dotted line are the Chinese Americans. So what you really are seeing here is among the ethnic groups in the United States, the South Asians have the lowest secretion of insulin, followed by Chinese Americans, and then the other three groups, the blacks, the Hispanics, and the whites, seem to be quite similar or well endowed in terms of insulin secretion. Again, these are epidemiological studies. A stronger signal really happened, and it often happens by comparing extreme populations. I had the opportunity of working with the Pima Indians for 4 years when I was at NIH. So I reached out to them, and Lisa Steinmays, who works with me, for her PhD, did a study comparing Indians in Chennai in our population study, the CARS cohort, with the Pima Indians in Arizona. And what she found was quite remarkable. Firstly, both populations were at extremely high risk. By age 55, both in Chennai and in the Pima Indians, the prevalence of diabetes was 50%. So half the population of Chennai over the age of 55 had diabetes. Half the population of the Gila River Reservation, where the Pima Indians live, had diabetes over the age of 55. But then the chart here shows you two things. It's showing you insulin secretion. The dark line is the fasting insulin secretion. The red line is the Indians. The purple is the Pima Indians. So at fasting, the Pima Indians are secreting more insulin at different stages of glucose intolerance, normal, IFG, IGT, the combination, and of diabetes. But the dotted line is even more important. The dotted line shows you insulin secretion after a glucose tolerance test measured at 30 minutes. And this 30-minute insulin secretion is important because it's an approximation of the first phase insulin response. So what you're seeing there, not only are the Indians in India compared to Pima Indians secreting less insulin at all levels of glucose, but what is more important, their ability to raise insulin after a glucose load within the first 30 minutes is also quite impaired across the natural history of diabetes. So then when you look at the pattern of glucose and obesity in the two populations, they are also extremely different. In the Pima Indians, the most common variety of prediabetes is impaired glucose tolerance, which is strongly associated with insulin resistance. But in Asian Indians, or in India, the commonest abnormality is impaired fasting glucose. That, according to physiological studies, is driven by beta cell function, dysfunction, and by hepatic insulin resistance. When you look at their obesity profiles, the Pimas are about 7 BMI units bigger and 25 centimeters larger in the waist. So here you have two big populations, both at high risk of diabetes, one more insulin resistant, other less secreting, more insulin deficient, but remarkably different in terms of obesity. This prompted us to start thinking, that perhaps type 2 diabetes is a heterogeneous disease with multiple phenotypes. And way back in 2015, we offered a simplistic hypothesis based on our epidemiological and clinical observations that perhaps it is time to think of type 2 diabetes at least as two different types. A type 2A, which was because of high metabolic load, such as obesity, where the primary problem was poor insulin action. The causes were adiposity, physical inactivity, dietary factors, all the classical things that you might think of. Your diagnosis might be a 2-hour glucose test, after an oral glucose tolerance test. Your initial treatment is what we recommend now, lifestyle management, metformin. And the classic population group might be the Pima Indians. We offered there was perhaps a second type that we should pay attention to. We called it type 2B, which was related to poor metabolic capacity. And here the primary problem was decreased insulin secretion. Notice the two bars overlap each other, suggesting that both impaired insulin action and impaired insulin secretion are present in both the types. The question is, what is more important, and what about the timing, which happens early in which group? And here we do not know the cause. We can only speculate about it, but some causes to speculate about, or whether it could be related to poor maternal nutrition, reduced beta cell mass, evolutionarily determined, lipotoxicity, endocrine disruptors, we don't know. But the diagnostic test might also be very different. It might be a fasting glucose or a 30-minute glucose challenge to pick up the first phase insulin response. The initial treatment might also be different. I mean, again, from one of our trials, we did notice, and in fact, others have confirmed, that people with impaired fasting glucose or fasting abnormalities don't respond that well to lifestyle intervention or to interventions that target insulin sensitivity, such as rosiglitazone, the DREAM study, or metformin, for example. So there might be a role for secretagogues, gliptins, insulin in this, but we don't know. And a classic ethnic group here, in terms of population variant, might be the Asian Indians. So both populations here would have both types of diabetes. The question would be in what frequency, and all other populations of the world might be in between. So there is a spectrum that you might need to think about. This is what we thought about in 2015. 3 years later, this wonderful study published in The Lancet from a Scandinavian group, using their biobank, did a wonderful agnostic cluster analysis and came up with 5 clusters of diabetes. The first cluster was type 1. The remaining 4 were phenotype of type 2 diabetes. They also had access to genetic information. So the type 1 and one of the type 2 clusters was strongly related to beta cell genes, whereas the other 3 were strongly related to insulin-resistant genes. And that particular group, the group called SID, which was found in early onset, relatively low body weight, is the one of great interest to populations such as in India and worldwide. And in fact, Dr. Mohan from Chennai, using his data of 47 or 48,000 people with diabetes, analyzed it similarly, and they came up with 4 clusters. They didn't have enough in terms of type 1 diabetes. But again, they were able to almost replicate what was done in Scandinavia with subtle differences. Rather than emphasizing the differences, I'm trying to emphasize here the commonalities. Once again, they found the severe insulin-deficient variety of type 2 diabetes very frequent, in fact, more frequent than had been reported in the European samples. More recently, Yajnik from Pune, analyzing data on type 2 diabetes presenting before the age of 45, these are young onset type 2 diabetes, has reported recently that the majority of the type 2 diabetes manifesting before the age of 45 happens to be of the severe insulin deficient variety. Once again, when different studies point in the same direction, it is very reassuring. And here, a study undertaken in the United States by Alka Kannaya, Dr. Banks, and Anjali Gujral, my colleague, looking at the multi-ethnic cohort, they basically found these same 5 clusters, but the clusters were differently distributed in different ethnic groups. And what is important, when you look at the South Asian group in the United States, 38% of the diabetes in that group is what they called severe hyperglycemia, which is your severe insulin deficient cluster. Just yesterday, my colleague Jitin Varghese has published a meta-analysis of all the phenotypes comparing Asians with non-Asians. And that does strongly suggest that in Asian groups, the most common variety is the insulin deficient variety. And even in the other varieties, there seems to be impairment of insulin secretion in Asians compared to others. So we are beginning to build a strong argument in that direction. So using all this, we hypothesized a couple of years ago that perhaps in South Asians, due to long evolutionary history, for whatever reason, our beta cells have been impaired. Why, how, and in exactly what direction, we don't know. So that has given us a lesser endowment to be able to meet the challenges of modern lifestyle. On top of it, South Asians, I haven't shown you data, tend to have a lower lean muscle mass, which means our ability to metabolize glucose might also be impaired. And then, when on top of it, when modern lifestyle, because of the fat deposition in the liver and in the pancreas, we very rapidly progress along the natural history of diabetes. And in fact, we have done some estimation which suggests that the transition from normal to prediabetes to diabetes is very rapid in South Asian and Indian populations. So we need to get to the fundamentals of this. And this is where I'm extremely excited with some of the work we have been doing over the past 2 years during the pandemic. At Vanderbilt, my colleague, Dr. Al Powers, runs a national network of pancreatic biobank across 52 centers in the US. These are organ donors from unfortunate road traffic accident victims, dying for other reasons, dying for road traffic accidents. But their pancreases are harvested and studied for a variety of diseases, including diabetes. So using the protocols that have been developed at Vanderbilt, we reached out to Dr. Sashikala Mitnala in Hyderabad at the Asian Institute of Gastroenterology. She approached the Jeevan Dan committee, obtained permission, and got the first 5 donor pancreases of road traffic accident victims. The pancreases were processed using the protocols that have been implemented in Vanderbilt. All the data collection and analysis was done here. On the Hyderabad pancreases in India, the Vanderbilt pancreases in Vanderbilt, and sharing with you some very preliminary data. These are preliminary data, so we should not get excited about this. But essentially, when we compared the first 5 donor pancreases from India with 4 roughly age and sex match samples from the Vanderbilt biobank, these are whites in America, we find certain differences that are highly suggestive. Firstly, the total area of the islet cells in the Indian pancreases seem to be less compared to that in the Vanderbilt pancreases. And secondly, the relative area of the islet cells in the Indian pancreases seem to be occupied by the beta cells. But however, when you look on average, the area occupied by the beta cells of the pancreas seems to be about 20% in the Indian pancreases compared to the European pancreases. The area occupied by the alpha cell in the Indian pancreases is also about 15, 20% or 30% of the European pancreases, and so too the delta cells. Whether this is related to the different body weight, we don't know. But examining data from the Vanderbilt biobank, the contribution of weight per se to explain such a large difference in area of the islet cell seems, somewhat doubtful, but this is exactly what we want to process in the future with larger number of pancreases, getting more clinical information so that we can get to the bottom line of what is going on. We've also started setting up functional studies to study insulin secretion in the islet cells of the donor pancreases. We haven't made the comparisons yet, but this is just showing you that we have successfully implemented the Vanderbilt protocol in Hyderabad. And in fact, when I go back next week, Dr. Sashikala is visiting us in Vanderbilt. We're going to have a 2-day meeting to discuss the future of this collaboration. So briefly now, switching over to the next frontier, which is going to be precision medicine and precision public health. This is where we hugely benefited from a cohort that several of us established, Dr. Nikhil Tandon, Dr. Prabhakar, Dr. Mohan, and colleagues at Emory. 2010, thanks to funding for the NHLBI, we were able to establish a cohort called the CARS cohort, the Center for Cardiometabolic Risk Reduction in South Asia cohort, representative samples in 2 cities, Delhi and Chennai. This cohort, just to show you a little bit about it, it's a population-based sample of almost 22,000 people aged 20 years and older that have been followed up for 11 years or more currently. They are representative of Delhi and Chennai, and very importantly, they are very carefully characterized and geocoded, which is a great advantage. And we also have established a biorepository of about 360,000 stored sample of sera, plasma, and urine, including Buffy code for DNA extraction. So this provides a powerful infrastructure, and I'm glad we set it up this way. And the cohort was assembled in 2 waves. CARS-1, a representative sample assembled in 2010, 2011, has been having annual follow-up for mortality and 2 yearly follow-ups with bloods. And people of the first CARS-1 have had about 5 or 6 follow-ups. And CARS-2, also sampled using exactly the same methods, assembled in 2015, 2016, and that's also being followed up. So we have 2 serial cross-sectional studies which have become cohorts. You can pull them together, or you can use them as independent studies for validation, a very powerful design. Very recently, we were able to leverage this cohort that was so carefully maintained with such limited resources, with the hard work of such a large group of team members here in India. We applied to the National Heart Institute, who have funded us as what they call a program project grant. NIH, NHLBI funds 1 or 2 program project grants a year, and we were lucky to get this. But what this is giving us funds for is to phenotype this cohort extremely well. For example, we'll be doing in the entire cohort vascular structure and functional studies, such as arterial stiffness, carotid intimal media thickness, studies of atherosclerosis, the coronary CT scan, carotid plaque ultrasound, examining the myocardium, such echocardiogram in the entire 14,000 people that will be available to us, metabolic studies, doing CT scans of the liver, oral glucose tolerance tests, etc. And of course, continuing to follow this cohort over time. We're also using the stored sample to measure advanced biomarkers of lipids, of various metabolic biomarkers, and pathophysiological biomarkers. These are protein-based biomarkers of different pathophysiological pathways. And in a small subsample, because we were limited for money, doing the molecular markers, such as genomics, epigenomics, and metabolomics. Just to give you the entire cartoon together, this would allow us to study the natural history of cardiovascular disease and diabetes in a way that has never been done before. And we would approach it from 4 different angles: understanding the pathophysiology of the disease, the influence of environmental factors such as air pollution and tobacco on the progression of cardiovascular disease and cardiometabolic disease, the predictive ability of molecular markers, the role of family influence, family environment, and lifestyle. And to place this in record, this cohort of 22,000 people will be about 4.5 times the famous Framingham heart study. In that sense, it's going to be a huge cohort, far better phenotype than most of the other cohorts of the world. And just to give you a reason why this is so important, the equations that we use to predict cardiovascular disease in Indians or in other South Asian groups still relies on data from the Framingham equation. And those don't really apply very well to South Asian populations. A recent study in England showed that equations derived from other cohorts don't accurately predict the various phenotypes of cardiovascular disease in South Asian or other populations. And in fact, that same study showed only 22% of the genes identified in the European population were replicable in the South Asian population. So in that sense, I believe that the precision CARS cohort is going to help us rewrite the textbooks of cardiology and endocrinology in the next 10 to 15 years. And what we learn for India is going to be more applicable to most of the developing world, which is 80–90% of the world, than studies that have come from European populations, which have been well-nourished for a long time. All the research that we do needs to benefit people. And this is where our work in implementation research and research aimed at improving quality of care and scaling interventions, not for a few hundred people, but for millions of people. And in the case of India, 1.4 billion people, how do you scale these interventions? This is where our implementation research philosophy has been very exciting. And Dr. Nikhil Tandon has been one of the leaders helping us advance this area. Over the years, we have had a number of major trials. A trial called DCLIP in Chennai, which was about diabetes prevention in a small number of people. And then we went on to create a demonstration project called India Works, where in 250,000 people across 10 work sites in India, the same idea is being scaled. And similarly, we had a trial called the CARS translational trial in 10 people to improve quality of care among 1,200 people with diabetes across 10 sites. Using data and evidence from that trial, Dr. Tandon and Dr. Patel are now trying to do a demonstration in an entire district in Punjab called ITREC. We have gone into the area of looking at comorbidity. How do you address diabetes and depression together in another trial called Independent? So briefly about these trials, but before that, these trials and all the work has helped us to build a very powerful collaborative network of clinical sites across India, and this would be a valuable contribution for the future of research in this country. Over the years, our group together with Indian collaborators, we have published nearly 100 papers, including in journals such as JAMA, the Annals of Internal Medicine, British Medical Journal, and others. Just to summarize a couple of translational studies, the first, looking at the role of multi-component intervention to improve quality of care. The idea here is to improve quality of care, you need to support patients to change behavior and to be adherent. You need to support clinicians to help them make decisions that are evidence-based and therapy that is evidence-based. And then you also need to support the clinics so that their infrastructure is able to support the interventions and taking into account clinical mix so that the more serious patients get greater attention, the more routine ones can be triaged, etc. So putting all this together in an organizational framework, a trial was done among 1,200 people with diabetes across 10 sites, led by Dr. Muhammad Ali at Emory and Dr. Nikhil Tandon here in India, called the CARS translation trial, and the primary results of which were published in the Annals of Internal Medicine. It showed that an intervention using care coordinators and a decision support system was able to improve glucose control, blood pressure control, and lipid control. And what was important here, in this trial, even the control group improved over time. So the question now is, taking the results from these trials, if you could scale it up to a primary healthcare setting where the baseline care was more like the community, it wasn't like the control group here, what might happen? And that is exactly what Dr. Nikhil Tandon and Dr. Shivani Patel are doing with funding from NIH in a place in Punjab. The idea here is, suppose you combined the power of technology like electronic case record forms, built decision support softwares for referral and clinical support, trained healthcare providers in lifestyle management and therapeutic and pharmacological management of diabetes, of cardiovascular disease, and you modified the workflow at the healthcare facilities such as task shifting. So the combination of technology and task shifting and implementing the evidence-based interventions using infrastructure within the government of India, physical and IT infrastructure, such as using AIIMS Bharat kind of infrastructure. And this is a demonstration project in Punjab involving one district, close to 1 million people, and about 17 primary healthcare sub-centers. And the idea here is using the ASHAs and technology to deliver care in the most evidence-based manner. And if this demonstration is successful, the tools that will be developed here could be scaled up to 1 billion people across the country in all states. And I think this is where the excitement of taking research to people is wonderful. And I know Dr. Tandon would love to make this one of his major legacies. Finally, most people with diabetes have other conditions. People with diabetes suffer from cardiovascular disease. They also suffer from depression. So using an R01 grant, Dr. Ali, Dr. Mohan, Dr. Nikhil Tandon, Dr. Prabhakar have done this trial called the independent trial, where taking people with diabetes and depression and borrowing from the team care management idea that was developed in Seattle by colleagues there. It's a combination of case reviews by psychiatrists and a care coordinator to deliver best quality care, diabetes, cardiovascular disease care, a randomized controlled trial in 4 centers across India, and using the same organizational ideas that we showed for the CARS trial. What they have demonstrated, recently published paper in the JAMA, that the primary cardiovascular risk composite endpoint showed major improvements in this trial from the intervention. And so too, they also found improvements in depression. So treating the 2 conditions together in an organized manner does not need to undermine one condition or another. You can deliver optimal care for both the conditions at the patient level. I think that's a major finding from the study. So finally, the importance of capacity building. And here we have been very lucky, very proud that we have tried to approach the problem as bidirectional India-US training. In a global world, young American investigators have as much to learn by spending time in India and training in India as the other way around. I think because there is so much to learn in one another's environment, so much richness to take back and to give back. So that's been the philosophy. And using a variety of grants, NIH, Fulbright, India Alliance, etc., we've been able to train a large number of international fellows coming to Emory. And I think through this program, at least 250 young Indian investigators have received, training of a few months, or at least attending short courses in research methods, etc. Most of them are still in India, which is a very good thing. And we've also had the opportunity of sending almost 38 or 40 US doctoral or postdoctoral fellows to India for up to a year. Some of them have got their PhDs from that work, gone on to become tenured faculty from that work. And this has been a life-changing experience for all of them. And the most exciting thing has been connecting the young fellows, the India-trained fellows and the US-trained fellows, just this working in the same ecosystem of solving global problems, regardless of whether they're working in India or they're working in the United States, and just realizing that the ITREC study that I mentioned, which is happening in Punjab, is equally applicable to African Americans in Georgia. And in fact, there are colleagues of mine who are writing grants to get that implemented in Georgia. So there's a lot of reverse innovation, reverse training, reverse science exchange that can happen from all this. This is a final picture that I want to show you. This is our provost and our Emory leadership team visiting the All India Institute of Medical Sciences some years ago. The last director of AIIMS, Dr. Galeria, and our ex-provost, Dr. McBride, signing a memorandum of agreement. So the institutional connection is in place. There's a vibrant exchange of ideas and collaboration and research and happening between our 2 institutions. We hope that as we go forward, we can build on this and take this very much to the next level. I want to finish off by thanking my colleagues at Emory University. At the Emory Global Diabetes Research Center was established. And I owe a lot of our success at the Emory Global Diabetes Research Center to the work we have been doing in countries like India and worldwide. It's the global collaboration that has set us apart, and we have learned in the process. And for this, I want to thank all the people that have participated in our studies, all the colleagues that have collaborated with us, and in particular, want to thank all of the various funders that have supported us over the years. This picture is a favorite picture of mine. This was taken in Delhi some years ago when our provost and team visited India. And what this picture shows you is when you get groups of people from across the world to exchange ideas, to exchange stories, to exchange cultures, and to help and support each other, you end up creating a global ecosystem that is so powerful and which can very easily solve the biggest problems of today. And I believe problems like diabetes, climate change, all of this is going to require this kind of collaboration. And for me, and I keep saying this, the sari in this particular picture epitomizes the power of cross-cultural collaboration and the ease with which cultures can navigate each other's territory. I don't think anybody owns any culture. All our cultures are part of a globe, and the more we give, the more we take, the better it is. And I want to conclude with a famous quote from Mahatma Gandhi. The idea of living is to keep all your doors and windows open. Let the breeze from everywhere blow, but hold on to your roots, but also change with times and change with the new ideas that influence you and influence others from your new ideas. With that, thank you very much.
So thank you, sir. Now it is time to felicitate the orator of the day. May I request dignitary on the dais, Professor P. and our Honorable Dean to do the honor. Please. Yes, sir. So we have our arrival of our chief guest. So just to deliver the vote of thanks for this second AIIMS Diamond Jubilee Oration. First of all, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Dr. K.M. Venkat Narayan for accepting the request and putting all his efforts in coming from US to Delhi to deliver this oration physically. So thank you very much, sir, for accepting the request and being with us. I'm also thankful to our dignitaries on the dais, Professor P.K. Dave, former Director AIIMS New Delhi, and our Honorable Director, who has just left to receive the Chief Guest, Minister of State, Dr. Bharati Pravin Pawar. And also would like to extend sincere thanks to Dr. Subrat Sinha, our Dean Academics, and all the audience for being thoroughly present for this oration and paying attention to this valuable oration. Thank you very much. Now we will be requesting all of you to join us for welcoming our chief guest outside, please. Thank you.
here, but please do maintain decorum while the program is going on. It is a solemn occasion, the inauguration of the Institute Day as well as the distribution of awards. So please do maintain silence while that is happening and keep your phones in the silent mode or please switch them off. Thank you.
से बोले मूवी चला रहे थे, अभी तो आए नहीं ना, नहीं ऐसे चलते तो अच्छा चला। मूवी चला रहे थे तो स्टेज पर दूरदर्शन वाले इधर देखना और यहाँ पे देख स्टेज पे मूवी में कब तक चल डिस्प्ले नहीं हो रहा। अच्छा बाहर का दिखा रहे हैं, बाहर का दिखा रहे हैं सर, बाहर का दिखा रहे हैं। अभी मेरे को नीचे लग रहा है, ऊपर भी जाएगा, हाँ नीचे ही है। बताते हैं आपको, है ऑन कर रहा हूँ, नंदी उठाना
As soon as she entered, she asked have to take over. As soon as they come, then you will.
Please. Sir, आप साइड जाइए. नहीं फेस द फ्रेंड्स इधर आ
Official.
ये लाइव जा रहा है सर, बताओ आप।
आपसे नहीं कर रहा हूँ, प्लीज प्लीज बोले।
भैया
kills the virus at the time of the collection of the sample established, improves the sensitivity by 70%, 25% more symptomatic, and more than 50% asymptomatic. Then we also developed a rapid recycling technology where from a post of PPO 500 we reduce it to like 500 ppm per pp. That was the first PP recycling facility, and the protocols for that facility were set up sent to all medical colleges in India. And then the whole team of the department is to work on the challenges of India. So we have the malaria, the TB, all disorders are increased in India. So the current national
राजेश इधर ला।
Namaskar, Welcome to the 67th Foundation Day of All India Institute of Medical Sciences.
Can I start?
Yes.
Everybody settle in. We'll ask them to switch off their mobiles.
I request you all to settle down and please keep your mobile phones either in the switched off mode or in the silent mode. Please keep your mobile phones in the silent mode or in the switched off mode, please.
Should we wait for a minute? प्रकृति नहीं हार कर झुकती है, भाग्य के बल से सदा हारती है वह मनुष्य के उद्यम से, श्रम जल से। अखिल भारतीय आयुर्विज्ञान संस्थान के 67वें स्थापना दिवस में मैं राष्ट्र कवि दिनकर के इन प्रतीकात्मक शब्दों से आपका स्वागत करती हूँ।
Thank you. So for the 67th Foundation Day of our institute, we also have some school students with us, and we also have undergraduate and postgraduate students. And the program also involves the bestowing of awards to various scholars who have achieved distinction in the examinations and other parts of their career at the institute over the past year and a half. And before we start, I request you all to please settle down. ऊपर जो बच्चे बैठे हैं, आपका भी हार्दिक स्वागत है, लेकिन आप थोड़ी देर के लिए चुप रहें. Thank you. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. So for the 67th annual day, Foundation Day, there's been a very exciting exhibition that has been put around, and I hope you've all gone through it, especially the school kids. There are a lot of interesting material related to biomedical sciences and clinical sciences among the posters that have been displayed. And there are also live demonstrations and checkup stalls that have been put up in the first floor. So please do avail of these opportunities to have a good time during the Institute Day. And in the evening, there will also be a cultural program that will start around 5 o'clock. So we would start the function in a bit with the felicitation of our guests who are there on the dais. So I request our staff from the academic section to please start felicitating our chief guest first, Dr. Bharati Pravin Pawar, who is the Honorable Minister of State for Health and Family Welfare of the Government of India.
Our special guest, Dr. P.K. Dave.
Our director, Professor Srinivas M.
Our Dean Academic Section, Professor Subrata Sinha.
And our registrar, Professor Lalwani. Thank you very much. I request our director, Professor Srinivas, to deliver the welcome address, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Honorable Minister, ma'am, our respected teacher, first director, I think we need a big claps for. We have, ma'am, what I was saying, that we have teachers, Dr. Talwar and Kamal Bakshi, whose student, Dr. Dave, who was the first person to get the convocation, what you say, the pictures in the office there. I think it's a very great moment for all of us that we have teachers whose students have become teachers, and then we are the students. You know, so many generations of things which is happening on this day, say, ma'am, this is the Institution Foundation Day. And Professor Dave, sir, Professor Subrata Sinha, sir, he is our Dean Academics, and Dr. Sanjeev Lalwani, Registrar. Good morning to everybody, and warmest wishes to you all on this 67th Institute Day. And it's a great pride moment for all of us to address you all today here. And ma'am, this institution has been a leader, not only in the patient care, teaching, learning, and research and other things. You had a glimpse of that in the outside. And ma'am, it's a very proud moment for all of us to say that for the past consecutive years, we have been ranked as the #1 in the NRF rankings, which happens to the Ministry of Education, Government of India. And the academic section here has come out with a learning management system called Saral, which has made total paperless for all the students to come in, all the hostel management, learning management skills and everything like that. And globally, ma'am, you were discussing about the Bhutan Prime Minister asking for the collaboration and the training over here. Ma'am, we had a lot of interest shown by the various international organizations and the universities and the NGOs, especially from the US, United Kingdom, Australia, and Germany in the last 1 year. We are just focusing on the last year. And many people have visited from these institutions. And we have been designated as a National Resource Center for the NMC, National Medical Commission Network Program. And we have the distinctions of being the Center of Excellence for putting the artificial intelligence into the patient care and the research over here. Many programs are going on in the Department of Cardiology, Ophthalmology, Radiology, and all that. So it's all about the academics, which we wanted to share with you with this August gathering. And some more things which we have with this thing is, ma'am, you give us some time for all of these things to come over at your convenience time and go through that so that we get inspiration for all that. We have a wonderful skill lab set facility, which has trained to the 3,000 students, people on various aspects. 3,000 students have been undergone this skill lab over here, and 1,200 students in the wet lab over here. We had, in fact, hosted a training for the trainers, you know, the TOT workshop for the simulation-based training over here, which made a lot of difference for the COVID care, ma'am. In fact, I was one of the members for the expert group 3, wherein the AIIMS set facility and the training which we have taken up was appreciated by most of the people. In fact, many state governments took this way of teaching the people, especially for the paramedical staff. You know, this is the institution which gave that particular protocols for training the people for the COVID care, which was well appreciated by everybody. I was used to be there in the virtual meetings. And coming back to our examination section, ma'am, in the last 1 year, that is from the August to the August, we have had so many examinations which are designated to be taken by us. And 3 lakh candidates have taken examinations through our examination section, which is a big thing, ma'am, and everything has been very transparent manner. And this is something which we are going forward with the Government of India scheme and the Honorable Prime Minister's vision for the digital India. Everything is computerized in a very transparent manner. Coming back to the research section, ma'am, our centralized core research facility, because you saw that, you know, the proteomics, genomics, the next generation sequencing, which you were saying that, and the personal medicine, which we appreciated, all that is happening. And we were part of the INSCOG, you know, for the SARS-CoV virus sequencing also. And you have gone through some of them while coming over to here. And coming back to the COVID publications, ma'am, we have had more than 1,100 publications in the last 1 year on COVID, which are exclusively PubMed indexed. You know, we are not talking about the non-published publications. And ma'am, the forte for all of you from the ministry, the Honorable Minister, and you, everybody is saying about the patient care. We are conscious about it. We will definitely move forward. Just to give a glimpse of it, we have had 20 lakh patients OPD in this 1 year. This is not a small number. And coming back to the admissions which we have done, it is 2 lakh population. And the surgeries which we have done is 1 lakh. I know, ma'am, that your expectations are looking at the patient satisfaction. We will definitely come back to those, streamlining those things. And just to share with you, one of the achievements which we had is the bilateral lung transplant, which was done for the end-stage lung disease over here in this last 1 year. And I think what I have been told is the first of its kind in the government setup in this country. And looking forward for all your support on all this, ma'am. We'll definitely move forward. And what you said the last time that, we are opened up to the 6:30 in the evening for the investigations. And of course, in addition to what we have 24/7 for the inpatients and the emergency services. You have had a glimpse of the master plan, ma'am. I think we have to move forward with all that. There's a bigger vision of yours, the ministry and everybody for the integrated medical university information system, which will be part of the vision for the National Digital Health Mission. And our engineering section has got new paid ward, block number 3, which is giving additional 111 private beds, and the 8th floor, which has been kept exclusively for bone marrow transplant, ma'am. I wish that you have some time when you come the next time, have a look into this, and it will be a lot of inspiration for all of us, especially the youngsters who are doing a lot of research on these areas. The Center for Medical Education Technology, again, had a big role to play in the COVID education, treatment, giving protocols to the country, the entire country. And they had almost 50 video programs where they became like the AIIMS protocols for the treatment of the COVID in the rest of the country. And looking at the media and protocol division, we had 400 plus positive media news about the AIIMS during this time. A lot of public awareness programs and whole lot of things, ma'am. This is just a glimpse of what we're doing at the various spectrum of the things, right from the patient care, teaching, learning, and research and administration. We are looking forward for the good governance and transparency which you have highlighted. We will go forward, and with your support, with the ministry's support, we will move forward and come to your expectations and make not just the best in the country, but internationally one of the best, what you are saying in the room just now. Thank you, everybody. Jai Hind.
Now we'll have the distribution of the awards to the students and staff members who have achieved honors in the previous year. For that, I request our Honorable Chief Guest and other guests and dignitaries on the dais to please come forward to help in the distribution of the awards.
I would like to call upon Dr. Angel Anna Zakaria to receive the Dr. P.K. Anand Medal 2021 in Physiology for the Best Postgraduate Student. Dr. Bodhraj Sabharwal Medal 2021 in Ophthalmology for the Best Postgraduate Student goes to Dr. Aishwarya Rathore. Dr. Balaji Nagarajan has been awarded the Sanjeevani Medal 2021 in Anesthesiology for the Best Postgraduate Student. The Dr. Atman Prakash Medal 2021 in Surgery for the Best MBBS intern goes to Dr. Renuka Benara. Dr. Krishna K. gets the Dr. Shyam Sharma Medal 2021 in Radiology for the Best Postgraduate Student. The Dr. Jagdish Lal Kapila Medal 2021 in Cardiology for Best Postgraduate Student goes to Dr. T. Ram Manohar. Dr. Rimli Datta gets the Dr. N.C. Nayak Medal in Pathology for the Best Senior Resident for 2021.
The Srimati Kirpal Kaur Medal for 2021 for the Best House Physician goes to Dr. Shrila P.B. The Colonel G.C. Tandon Medal in 2021 for the Best Senior Resident in Anesthesiology is awarded to Dr. Kartika G. R.
Dr. Snigdha Soni and Dr. Bhavna Arora get the Professor V. Hingorani Medal 2021 in Obstetrics and Gynecology for the Best Senior Residents. May I call upon Dr. Ekta Sachdeva for the Dr. S.V. Talekar Medal in Biophysics for the Best Postgraduate Student.
Let the photos get down.
The Ellen Mahapatra Medal in 2021 for the Best Postgraduate in Microbiology is awarded to Dr. J. Stephen Raj. The Dr. M. Rohtagi Medal for the Best MCA Student in Pediatric Surgery for the year 2021 is awarded to Dr. Ankur Bhardwaj. Dr. O.P. Ghai Medal in Pediatrics for the Best Senior Resident is awarded to Dr. Ankit Kumar Meena. Professor V. Ramalingaswamy Book Prize Award to the Best Intern at the Rural Health Center at Ballabgarh is awarded to Mr. Aditya Agarwal. Dr. M.M.S. Ahuja Book Prize in Endocrinology for the Best DM Student in 2021 is awarded to Dr. Vel Murugan M. Dr. Hida Ayush Ajay Kumar is awarded the Srimati Leelavati Salvan Book Prize in Obstetrics and Gynecology for the Best Junior Resident for an outstanding piece of research. Dr. Bishwa Mohan Mishra is awarded the Manohar Lal Soni Book Prize Award in Neurology for the Best Postgraduate Student of 2021. The Rakesh Tandon Book Prize in gastroenterology to be the best DN student is awarded to Dr. Samagra Agarwal.
Dr. Shivam Bansal gets the Sorel Catherine Freeman Book Prize Award in Pediatrics for the best postgraduate student. Dr. Riya Ahuja and Dr. Ananya Sharma get the Dr. K.C. Kandari Book Prize Award in Dermatology and Venereology for the best postgraduate students.
The Center for Dental Education and Research.
The third prize also goes to 3 departments: the Plastic, Reconstructive and Burn Surgery Department, Onco-anesthesia and palliative medicine, and the third department to be awarded the third prize is the Department of Forensic Medicine and Toxicology. The first prize goes to the National Drug Dependence Treatment Center. You will ask them to take their seats.
Congratulations to all the awardees. I request the dignitaries to take their places on the dais. And next we would have the address by the chief guest.
मैं माननीय राज्य मंत्री स्वास्थ्य एवं परिवार कल्याण मंत्रालय से निवेदन करूंगी कि वो सभा में प्रस्तुत लोगों को संबोधित करें। Namaskar. Dr. P.K. Dave ji, Dr. M. Srinivas ji, Dr. Subrata Sinha ji, Dr. Sahani ji, and all dignitaries, student, media group, faculty members, staff, and guests present here on this auspicious occasion. I am indeed delighted to be at AIIMS New Delhi today, which is celebrating its 67th Foundation Day. 67th, very long. Foundation Day is a chance to come together and celebrate our proud history with our community of students, with staff and supporters. And I congratulate all of you on this occasion. The Institute Day reminds us of what this institution stands for. The best in academics and an unending pursuit of excellence. Friends, in 1956, who would have thought that a small healthcare institution would be an epitome of excellence and would proudly hold the title of premier health institution of the country, AIIMS, which was created with a mission for providing high quality medical education, research, and patient care, is on its mission right since its inception. In more than 6 decades, AIIMS Delhi has made highly impressive progress based on the hard work of all the extraordinary members of the AIIMS family. It has established itself not only in India but at global platform as an apex medical institution that best combines excellent medical education with cutting-edge research and quality healthcare. Friends, it is a matter of immense pride that for the 5th consecutive year, AIIMS New Delhi has been ranked as number 1 among medical institutions by NIRF, National Institute Ranking Framework by the Ministry of Education, Government of India. I am also happy to learn that in research category, AIIMS New Delhi has also been ranked among top 10 educational institutions, and it is the only institution with patient care service component in addition to research. Friends, the country is coming out from the COVID-19 pandemic. The challenges not only were related to healthcare issues, but also include mental and socio-economic challenges and have affected all segments of the society. Healthcare system of India has shown a great efficiency in not only providing the diagnostic and management facilities, but also keeping the mortality at minimum and recovery at maximum. Friends, I appreciate that AIIMS had taken a huge responsibility of providing care to patients suffering from COVID-19 for innovating in areas of research, guiding colleagues across the country, and developing new methods of teaching and communication. I have seen that this year, the theme of AIIMS exhibition is AIIMS Today and Vision for 2047. That has not only highlighted the contribution of AIIMS Delhi till date, but also shows its future vision. Friends, we have seen AIIMS growing in a holistic and most inclusive manner. When we talk about holistic and inclusiveness, we are including three factors. Firstly, expansion of infrastructure and human resources related to modern medical science. Secondly, promotion of research in traditional Indian system of medicine and its active engagement in the healthcare system. And thirdly, providing better and affordable healthcare facilities to every person and every part of the country through modern and futuristic technology. I'm happy to learn that AIIMS not only has established high reputation, but also contributed significantly in academic, in research, and patient care, and has also attracted students, as you said, sir, from various other countries like USA, UK, Australia, Germany, etc. The research community at AIIMS contributed significantly through its leadership in innovations and publications by publishing a large number of articles and attracting research grants from both national level and international organization. It is a very huge achievement. I am also happy to learn that AIIMS has established collaborations with US, UK, France, Japan, and Sweden in research. I hope collaboration and legacy of past experience will help AIIMS to work diligently in new areas like biomedical engineering, nanotechnology, regenerative medicine, and molecular and genetics diagnosis, and leverage its benefits for the health of common man. Friends, it itself is a proud feeling that when the success of oneself is envisaged to be repeated, with the kind of success that AIIMS New Delhi has shown, 22 AIIMS have now been approved to be set up in all parts of the country so that quality health care is provided to the citizens. I am happy to learn that AIIMS faculty has been conducting medical camps for the benefit of the population belonging to these remote areas of the country. Friends, under the dynamic leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, the efforts of the central government is to work holistically with emphasis on preventive care while giving priority to modern treatment facilities. The efforts is to reduce the cost of treating for the poor, and at the same time on increasing the number of doctors rapidly. Friends, being successful is more of a journey, not a destination. Now that AIIMS New Delhi has achieved so much reputation in and out of the country, it becomes all the more necessary for us all to protect this reputation. We must all come together and suggest ways to further improve the functioning of this institute. We have to work hard to not only to maintain the high standards, but also set newer milestones and put efforts to achieve the same. We must look beyond the current outlook and prepare AIIMS New Delhi for the challenges that could arise in the years to come. And we must list down such issues and discuss the same during our review meetings so that we are well prepared when such issues arise. Friends, it takes years to build a system and just a few days to destroy a well-built system as well. We must keep our focus on making the AIIMS New Delhi better than the best. Only because of your consistent efforts could we keep the momentum of growth of this institute going. I have a particular message that all of us have to work for an improvement in the system at AIIMS to make it patient-friendly. And I ensure complete support of our Ministry of Health and Family Welfare under the guidance of our Honorable Minister, Dr. Mansukh Mandviya ji, for this. Former President late Shri Abdul Kalam ji has said, it doesn't matter who you are. If you have a vision and determination to achieve that vision, you will certainly achieve. I unquote. In this mission of health for all, as envisioned by our Honorable Prime Minister to build stronger and healthier India, I welcome AIIMS New Delhi with its repository of wisdom to come forward and work earnestly for the growth and the development of the country. I once again congratulate all of you for this achievement and hope that AIIMS will continue to live up to the mandate given to it by Parliament as it strives to assist the government in its endeavor to provide not only quality health care to our people, but also in setting high standards in medical education and research in the country. I once again congratulate all of you. Thank you. Dhanyavad. Jai Hind. Jai Bharat.
Thank you, ma'am. Those words were really inspiring and encouraging. Thank you very much. And in order to show our appreciation to our chief guest for having taken time out of a valuable and extremely busy schedule, we request our director, Professor Srinivas, to felicitate her with a token of our appreciation. We also request Professor Srinivas to extend a token of our appreciation to our special guest, Professor P.K. Dave, who chaired the session of the Diamond Jubilee Oration. Thank you, sir. Now I request Professor Sanjeev Lalwani to propose the vote of thanks.
अखिल भारतीय आयुर्विज्ञान संस्थान नई दिल्ली के 67वें संस्थापना दिवस के कार्यक्रम में मंच पर उपस्थित गणमान्य अतिथिगण, आज के कार्यक्रम की मुख्य अतिथि माननीय केंद्रीय स्वास्थ्य एवं परिवार कल्याण राज्य मंत्री डॉक्टर भारती प्रवीण पवार जी, डॉक्टर पी.के. दवे संस्थान के भूतपूर्व निदेशक, डॉक्टर एम श्रीनिवास संस्थान के निदेशक, प्रोफेसर सुब्रत सिन्हा डीन एकेडमिक्स। आज के दिन 25 सितंबर को हम सब संस्थान का स्थापना दिवस मनाते हैं। यह अपने आप में हम सभी के लिए एक गौरवपूर्ण और ऐतिहासिक दिन है और इस दिन हम सब ने देखा कि अब तक हमने क्या किया है और हमारे फ्यूचर क्या हैं, उन सब का हमने प्रदर्शन किया और हमें विश्वास है कि जो भी हमने आज एग्जीबिशन में शो किया है, नेक्स्ट जो 25 साल हैं हमारे, उनमें उन पॉइंट्स को और उन जो विजन्स के जो हमारे कमिटमेंट्स हैं उनको हम पूरा करने के लिए पूर्ण तरह से समर्पित रहेंगे और ये हम विश्वास देते हैं कि अगले 25 सालों में संस्थान पेशेंट केयर, टीचिंग और रिसर्च में अपने उच्च स्तर पर मेंटेन रहेगा। तो ये हमारा कमिटमेंट है सरकार को कि हम अपनी तरफ से सतत और भरसक प्रयास करते रहेंगे कि एम्स की जो प्रथम रैंक है वो कभी दूसरे या तीसरे स्थान पर ना पहुंचे। इस अवसर पर हम माननीय मुख्य अतिथि महोदया के प्रति हार्दिक आभार व्यक्त करते हैं कि उन्होंने अपने व्यस्ततम समय में से हमें अपना बहुमूल्य समय दिया और आज हमारा मार्गदर्शन किया। डॉक्टर पी.के. दवे, इतने साल हो गए, एज से रिलेटेड भी इश्यूज हैं, बट जब भी हमने इनको इंस्टीट्यूट के कार्यक्रम में निमंत्रण दिया है, इन्होंने सहर्ष स्वीकार किया है और हमारे बीच उपस्थित रहे हैं। तो आपका भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। इस कार्यक्रम के आयोजन में हमारे निदेशक महोदय डॉक्टर एम श्रीनिवास और भूतपूर्व निदेशक डॉक्टर रणदीप गुलेरिया ने हमारा बहुत महत्वपूर्ण मार्गदर्शन किया है और प्रोत्साहन दिया है और हमेशा समर्थन किया है, तो आप सबका भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। डॉक्टर सुब्रत सिन्हा हमारे डीन एकेडमिक्स, डॉक्टर राजीव कुमार एसोसिएट डीन एकेडमिक्स, पूर्ण एकेडमिक सेक्शन ने इस कार्यक्रम को सफल बनाने के लिए अपना बहुत महत्वपूर्ण योगदान दिया है। आप सभी का भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आपने देखा बाहर एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण प्रदर्शनी लगाई गई। इस प्रदर्शनी के आयोजन में केएल विग सीमेट जो हमारा सेंटर है मेडिकल एजुकेशन का, डॉक्टर पीयूष सानी के नेतृत्व में सभी स्टाफ मेंबर्स ने बहुत ही कड़ी मेहनत की और इस प्रदर्शनी को अपने आप में एक अनूठा प्रदर्शन जो एम्स के अचीवमेंट्स हैं और हमारा फ्यूचर विजन है उसको प्रदर्शित करने में बहुत महत्वपूर्ण योगदान दिया है। तो आप सभी का भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। इस कार्यक्रम के आयोजन में हमारे इंजीनियरिंग विभाग, हमारे कर्मचारी गण, हमारे सैनिटेशन विभाग, हमारे नर्सिंग स्टाफ, हमारे बाकी जितने भी कर्मचारी गण हैं, उन सबका बहुत महत्वपूर्ण योगदान रहा है। तो आप सबका आभार, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और अंत में मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा कि जो हमने आज कमिटमेंट दिया है, अगले एक साल में हम उस कमिटमेंट के प्रति समर्पित रहेंगे और एम्स को कभी भी नंबर 2 रैंक नहीं आने देंगे। इस कमिटमेंट के साथ बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आप सभी का हमारे साथ उपस्थित रहने के लिए।
Thank you, sir. A couple of announcements before we terminate the program with the national anthem. So the evening, we'll have the cultural program that would start at 5 p.m. All of you are invited for lunch to the faculty, to the cafeteria, the first floor and the second floor, and the dignitaries can proceed to the boardroom for lunch. And for the national anthem, we have students from the Nursing College, Durgesh, Sarita, Anshu, Sakshi, Sangeeta, Ranu, and Monica. They will lead us in the national anthem, and please do not applaud afterwards. Thank you.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंग, विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंग। तब शुभ नामे जागे, तब शुभ आशीष मांगे, गाहे तब जय गाथा। जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
So, भारत माता की, भारत माता की, भारत माता की। Thank you.